Club Vito is on. Your only connection to the very important top officer and unlimited sales success. Your host, Anthony Parinello, is a best-selling author. He's trained over 2 million sales professionals and 65 of the Fortune 100. This program will take you to sales heaven and keep you out of sales hell. So turn it up. Now, here's your host, Tony Parinello.
Sales hell. A place you don't want to spend much time in at all. You work your little keister off, jumping through all the hoops, all the presentations, demos, analyses, freebies, you name it. And at the end of the long trail, if you do get the sale, it's a little itsy-bitsy, teensy-weensy sale, and you fall behind in your quota, and your manager's breathing down your neck. Sales hell is not a place where we want to spend much time, and guess what? Sales heaven, on the other hand, sure, you work your little keister up, but you're rewarded with sales that are larger than the average sale and happen in half the amount of time. You get all the golden referrals you need and all the add-on business you've worked hard for and deserve from your existing customers. Here in Club Vito, we guarantee you a permanent zip code in sales heaven. And to do that today, I have a very special guest with me. Now, this is going to take a minute, so bear with me. Listen to this. Recognized by Meetings and Conventions magazine as one of America's most electrifying speakers, inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame in 1985, in 2009, inducted as one of the legends of the speaking profession. Then again, 2010, 11, and 12, selected one of the top 5 marketing speakers by Speaker.com. And if that's not enough, check this out. In 2010, elected into the inaugural class of the Speaker Hall of Fame. I'm not done. Bear with me. 2012, voted as one of the top 50 sales and marketing influencers. And also this year, 2012, voted number 1 in the world's top communication gurus. My very special guest today, Dr. Tony Alessandra, focuses on how to create instant rapport with prospects, employees, and vendors, how to convert your prospects and customers into business apostles who will preach the gospel about your products, company, services, and whatever else you have to offer. Dr. Tony Alessandra, welcome to Club Vito.
My pleasure, Tony. So how do we differentiate Tony P and Tony A?
Tony P and Tony A, like we normally do. So,
great.
I'll just call you Dr. Tony.
All right, Dr. Tony.
I like that. So
the doctor is in.
The doctor is in. Hey, Dr. Tony, what is the secret, if there is one, to building this instant rapport you speak about and write about in your over 27 books in 50 foreign languages?
Well, to create instant rapport, what you want to do is make sure you're focusing as much, if not more, on the other person than yourself. Do more listening than talking. And being able to accurately and quickly size up the other person so that you can truly treat them the way they want and need to be treated. I call that the platinum rule.
The platinum rule. Size them up. Now, what do you mean when you size? You have to see them in person to do this, or can I do it over the phone?
You can do either way. When you're in person, you have 3 channels of communication that you can focus on to determine what somebody's style is. The verbal, the vocal, the visual. The verbal, what they say, the vocal, how they say it, and then the visual, their body language. On the phone, it's only going to be the verbal and the vocal, just like we're doing right here.
So help our listeners and me understand how to do this. Is there like a 5-step process to figure this out?
2 steps.
2 steps. Oh, I like that. That's better.
Yeah, it's real easy, like a dance step. Step 1, based on what I see and hear, or on the phone, what I hear, is this person coming across more open or more guarded? Now, how do I tell the difference between the two? Well, guarded people do not show or share their feelings and thoughts readily or willingly. In other words, they play their cards close to the vest. These are the people that they don't like chit-chat and social talk. They want you to get right down to business. On a phone call, let's say that I'm guarded, and I call you.
Okay.
I might simply, when you answer, I would say, "Hey, Tony, it's Tony A. I've got one quick thing I need to ask you.
Right.
Notice how quickly I got in, no
Right.
social niceties.
Right.
If I was more open, I would say, "Hey, P, it's Tony A. ¿Qué pasa? What are you doing? We haven't talked in a couple of weeks. What's new?"
Right. Right.
Before I ever tell you why I'm calling. So we want to know if the person's guarded. Guarded people like facts, data, details. They're not touchers, if it's an in-person thing. They just want you to get to the point. Whereas the open people, you could readily and willingly show and share their feelings and thoughts. They have tendencies to get off the subject. They like to chit-chat a bit. They like to build a relationship before getting down to the task at hand. They make decisions more on feelings, whereas the guarded people more on facts. So decision number one, is the person, based on what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, coming across more open or guarded? It's an either or.
Tony, can it be both?
Well, not in a given interaction.
Uh-huh.
Could it be both? Like today, I call you, I'm under a lot of stress, I have a deadline, I've got a lot of things built up behind me, but I have to ask you a quick question. So today it's, "Hey, Tony, I got a quick question. I only got a minute." Boom. I'm more guarded. Tomorrow, I've gotten all those things out of the way, and it's, "Hey, Tony P, it's Tony A," and I could be a bit more open. So, yes, it could be both, but typically not in the same interaction.
If it's in the same interaction, would that be classified as schizophrenic?
It could be. It could be. Or it could be that I start off in my guarded state only to find out that you gave me a solution or an answer that has reduced my stress, and now I could let more of that open side come out. But I will tell you this. Just about everybody has a home base. A comfort zone. The way they interact most of the time with most people. Now, can I be open one day, guarded the next? Yes. Can I be open now and guarded later? Yes. But, like, for me, my comfort zone, I tend to be more on the guarded side. And this will become a little bit clearer as we go through this. The second decision, is the person more direct or indirect? Is the person more assertive or less assertive? Is the person faster paced or slower paced? So basically, I say direct or indirect. Indirect people are slower paced. They're less assertive. They're more asking than telling. These are the type of people that when it comes to risks, decisions, and change, they approach all three more slowly, cautiously, and methodically because they don't like to be wrong.
Right.
They follow the rules. Whereas the direct people, they're more assertive, they're faster paced, they're more demonstrative. These are the type of people that tell more than they ask.
Right.
Risk, decisions, change. They approach all three more quickly, decisively, even spontaneously, because they want to get it over with and move on to the next thing.
Right. So Tony, a very quick question here: if someone's guarded, would they also be predisposed to being direct?
Predisposed to? I'm sorry, I missed that last statement.
Predisposed to being direct. In other words, if I'm no. So these are
absolutely not.
These are not connected. These can be very different, mix and match.
Absolutely. I can have somebody who is guarded and direct, and I would call that person a director. I can have somebody who's guarded and indirect, and I call that person a thinker, more analytical. I can have somebody who is open and direct. I call that person a socializer, more of an expressive, outgoing, interactive, influential type. Or I can have somebody who is guarded and indirect, and I call that person a relator, the more amiable, steady, just a lovable type,
And so when we notice this, when we first start to see someone being guarded or open or direct or indirect, what do we need to do? I mean, we have these little data points. They're very simple to understand. But what do you do with it?
Okay, so let me give you what I would say is the simple thing. The simple thing is if I find somebody's guarded, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get right to the point, and I'm not going to develop the relationship unless they initiate it.
Mm-hmm.
When I see somebody is open, I'm going to get to know them a little, let them get to know me a little before I jump into, the task at hand, so to speak.
Right.
Now, if somebody is direct, I'm going to pick up my pace, move a little bit quicker. If somebody is indirect, I'm going to slow it down a bit and seek more feedback from them. So the four key simple decisions we make: am I going to go faster or slower?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I going to initially focus on the relationship or the task? So that's the first level.
Yep.
Now, if we want to get deeper, if I find that somebody is both direct and guarded, I'm dealing with a director. And if I'm dealing with a director, I want to make sure that I try to keep the relationship business-like. I'm going to focus on the big picture. I'm going to cover the high points quickly. I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty build-up with the minutia. If I'm going to try to get them to make a decision, I want to give them 2 to 3 options with a brief supporting analysis of each. Let them make the decision. If I want a decision, I'm going to come right out and ask for the order, but leave the final decision to them. And I may be describing a classic veto.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I was just going to offer that up to the listeners. That sounds to me like all the data points or indicators that I've got a veto in front of me.
Exactly.
General rule, of course, exceptions to every rule.
Every rule, and exceptions to the ones that we're talking about right now.
Right now,
and I will tell you this: with directors, I don't rely on the relationship because of past sales or whatever.
Right.
Because hey, that's what you did for me yesterday. Right. What are you doing for me today?
What are you doing for me today? Right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I follow up. I see if they have any problems, if everything's working out well, and if they do have problems, I address them right now.
Right now, not delaying and not giving a whole bunch of detail around it either. Stay at the 3,000, 30,000 foot view level.
Exactly.
Hey, let's hold on that thought. We're going to take a very short break to separate one segment from another. While we take the break, Club Veto members, think about this: guarded or open, direct or indirect, and all the little data points that Dr. Tony Alessandra has given us. Are you able to do that very quickly? When we come back, we'll do the deep dive into this so we could all figure it out together.
Don't go away. Tony will be right back. This is Club Veto.
This is Bill Brooks. Do you know that your prospects expect you to make claims for your products or services, but they're impressed when an objective third party makes those very same claims? You need to treat any endorsement document from a happy customer as worth multiple times its weight in gold. Treat it with dignity and respect. Always speak of your customers as if you think they are the greatest people in the world, because they are. Protect endorsements from wear and tear by preserving originals in plastic sleeves and storing them digitally. Show your endorsements to prospects as if you feel you are granting some special privilege to them. Give your prospects sufficient time to read letters. Flipping them across the table at a prospect makes it look like you're trying to hide something and shows a lack of respect. Endorsements are valuable. Use them. They'll make sales for you. I'm Bill Brooks, author of the bestseller, The New Science of Selling and Persuasion: How Smart Companies and Great Salespeople Sell.
You're listening to Club Veto with Tony Parinello. Today, it's time to talk to Veto.
And it's time to listen to my very special guest, Dr. Tony Alessandra, author of 27 books translated into over 50 foreign languages, including The New Art of Managing People, Charisma, The Platinum Rule, Collaborative Selling, Communicating at Work, Relationship Strategies, The Dynamics of Effective Listening, and Non-Manipulative Selling. Jeez.
That's a tongue tie, isn't it?
And Tony, you have quite a library going on here.
Well, I hope you're not one of those National Speakers Association members who says that I've written more books than I've read, because it's not true.
I would, being an author myself, I would never say that, ever.
Yeah.
So Tony, back to this guarded, open, direct, indirect. we've established that if someone is guarded and direct, we pretty much have someone you title as a director who fits the bill as a veto.
Right.
The very important top officer, get to the point. What do you got for me today? Forget what you did yesterday. What are you going to do for me right now? Yeah, I don't have a lot of time here. Get to the point. That's the kind of person that fits that bill.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. If someone now, on the other hand, is open and indirect, we need to be a little bit more personable and slow it down a little bit.
Absolutely, and really that is the exact opposite of the director that I just described. This is the relator, the more amiable, steady individual. A relator, if I can just give you just a tiny, tiny bit of background, they love relationships built on trust. They tend to make decisions collaboratively. In other words, they want to know how, if it's a personal or family-related decision, they want to get the other family members' input and decisions.
Sure.
If it's a business decision, who else might it affect? That's what I mean by making decisions collaboratively.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like pushy, aggressive salespeople, absolutely turned off by them. But once they buy, they are fiercely loyal. They love one-on-one personal assurances, but sometimes need a little bit of a gentle nudge to make a decision. Now, when you're dealing with a relator, you want to use a pleasant, patient approach. Mm-hmm. Now, notice how different this is from what we discussed earlier about the director.
Well, Tony, even as you explain it, it sounds like a relator, I mean, you slow it down, you're more personable. That's interesting. Even as I listen to you explain it, I'm drawing this picture of this person when I walk into their office. It's very friendly, it probably has some pictures of their family or something like that.
Absolutely. That's exactly what they have.
Yeah.
And they probably even they'll come out from behind their desk and they have a little seating area where they can get closer to you.
Right. First is the director. When you walk into their office, there's the head of the wild boar that they shot with the bow and arrow, that kind of thing.
That's right. And to the extreme, they sawed off the legs of the chair that you're going to sit on so that you're below them and they can look down on you.
Yeah.
That's a caricature, but still.
Sure.
The relators, as I said, they love personal assurances. They want you to guide them toward a choice, especially if they appear to be indecisive. But they're slower, deductive decision makers. So what we need to do is reduce their fears by showing them how any changes or decisions we're asking them to make will benefit both them and other people. Mm-hmm. They love continuing, predictable relationships. So they love you to build their relationship or build the relationship with them with low-key, personalized attention and assistance. These are the people that love the phone call, the personal visit, as opposed to, a fax or an email or a letter, which a director might like. A director, an email is great. I could look at it, boom, done.
Yeah.
In fact, even if I'm sending directors, I've had this told to me. Directors would say to me, look, if you're sending me an email asking me for information and you're asking for 3 pieces of information, send me 3 separate emails. I like to deal with one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. Yeah. Conquer one mission at a time.
Exactly. So we've talked about the director and their almost exact opposites, the relator. Now let's talk about the thinker. The thinker, the more analytical pattern, cautious, conscientious. These are the people that they need time and data to make decisions. Now, again, these are the indirect, which I mean slower paced, guarded people, which are more task oriented. So indirect and guarded. The thinkers sometimes get lost in unimportant details. They respond very well when you can help reduce or eliminate risk. They expect salespeople who call on them to have great expertise because they do. I would say that of all four styles that we're going to talk about here, the one style that may in fact know as much or more than you do about your product and competitors would very likely be the thinker.
Be the thinker, yeah. I'm already drawing a picture of the thinker as the person who lives in a place that we here in Club Vito call Linoleumville.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, the engineer, the scientist, down in the laboratory doing all the testing, all the stuff to prove something more wrong than right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The classic professional purchasing agent.
Yes.
who you know, I'm just looking at price.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So you know, when you deal with thinkers, avoid too much social talk and proceed slowly. Get right to the task at hand. They like logical options with documentation, pros and cons. They want you to fully know your competition so you can point out your advantages and disadvantages relative to the competition. They want things in writing, so make sure you're coming with printed out documentation, written proofs, written guarantees. If anybody says, let me sleep on it, they mean it. You know, so they want time and space, you know, to think about things.
Yeah.
But always make yourself available for follow-up on customer satisfaction.
And I would think here too, Tony, when you tell them something, make sure it's as accurate as humanly possible. And when you tell them you're going to do something, do it either on time or ahead of time.
Absolutely. And if you don't know something, admit you don't know it, but you will find it out and get back to them by whatever that date is. And again, get back to them by that time and date, if not sooner.
Yeah, no loosey-goosey, vague estimates. Well, it's about 22%. That's not going to work with these people.
That's correct.
And
so,
I
will tell you, they also view too much enthusiasm with skepticism.
Oh, sure. Stop trying to sell me and just stick to the facts.
Exactly.
So this is a person we call in the Vito vernacular the Seymour, the person who always seems to have an appetite to see more stuff.
Absolutely, unquestionably.
So now when you walk into a thinker's office or cubicle, or what are you more likely to see?
Well, first of all, you're not going to see a lot of personal things.
Right.
Everything will be utilitarian.
Right.
Everything in its place and a place for everything.
Yeah.
Do not, let me repeat that, do not move anything. If you pick up something by accident, make sure when just before you pick it up, you eyeball exactly where it was and how it was situated, and you put it down exactly that same way.
Yep.
I mean, I've been on sales calls where I inadvertently picked up one of their, let's say a pen, and I put it down the wrong way, and before they could do anything else, they had to go back to the pen and turn it the way it was.
I could just see the reality of that because we do kind of wear our style on our sleeve, don't we?
Yes.
This isn't hard to figure out. Now, if you have a thinker on the phone, you would be a little bit more slow-paced but very accurate in everything and finish one item or one piece of a conversation before moving on to a next question or whatever.
Absolutely. I might even, before moving on, ask if they have any questions or comments before moving on. I even if I was leaving a voicemail for a thinker, if I'm calling and they weren't there, I want to. I even have suggestions for how to leave voicemails. With thinkers, I will articulate clearly at a steady rate of speech, remain cool, calm, and professional, tell them exactly why I'm calling, tell them exactly what I want them to do, and let them know what to expect with the very next step in this relationship. I mean, it's like by the book.
And I would think if we deviate from that, we're really going to irritate them and raise their antenna as to their suspicion of why we're calling, why we exist, why we want their time, blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. Okay, so now we have the director, the relator, who's the opposite of the director, and we have the thinker. Who's left?
All right, who is left is the socializer. Now, the socializer is direct and open.
Got it. I'm drawing a little chart here. This is fun. I should send this to you. This is crazy. I've got 2 pieces of paper with lines and arrows.
Yeah, so for instance, socializers, they tend to be more outgoing, more spontaneous, especially when they're excited about things. In a selling situation, as a customer, socializers see benefits of a product before they're even pointed out. Here's the thing, they often buy before they're sold, which frequently leads to buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
They hate paperwork.
Returns and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't like a lot of paperwork. I mean, if you leave paperwork for them to fill out, odds are they may or may not fill it out. They just want buying to be simple. If I were selling to a socializer, I want to skip the details and the boring material. I want to be more animated with them. Whereas I play down my animation with the thinker, I want to play it up with a socializer.
Right.
I want to make them look good in the eyes of others. Now, Tony, you and I, we're professional speakers, and I just want to, within that perspective, when I give a speech, after the speech, very often I am shaking hands and thanking the CEO or director of marketing of the company, whoever put on the meeting, along with the meeting planner or the person who brought me in.
Yeah, Speakers Bureau or whoever,
whoever is there. And I'm always, the president's saying, fantastic, we loved it, I think our people got a lot out of it. And I say, well, thank you very much, but I really think a lot of the credit goes to, and I point to this other person who I did, in fact, talk with in advance and, to do my prep and my customization, but I always make them look good in the eyes of their boss, particularly if they are a socializer.
Yep, you just want a friend forever.
With a socializer, I summarize every important detail in writing. I help save them effort and complications. So if there's detailed paperwork that has to be filled out, either I or one of my staff fills it out for them and just asks them to take a look at it and make any corrections as necessary. I send them ongoing reminders that help remind them that they made the right decision.
Right.
So those are the things. Now, we also were talking about voicemails. Now, I told you about a voicemail with a thinker.
Yes.
Now, socializer is the exact opposite. I would leave a voicemail with a warm, expressive tone of voice. I'd give the impression that I'm upbeat. I'd suggest a meeting where we can sort of bounce off of each other. I'd give them my private number. Here's my home number. And I'd let them know that if it's a first meeting that I'm asking for, that it's simply going to be exploratory, looking for ideas, sharing ideas.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, Tony, let's hold on that, and I want the listener to think about this. Do you have a thinker, socializer, director, or relator waiting for you on the next phone call you make or on the next appointment? How would you know if you were waltzed into someone's office and they weren't there and you were sitting there waiting for this person to come in? Could you psych them out a little bit by just seeing what's around in their office? More to come, so don't go away.
You're listening to Tony Parinello on Club Veto.
How about 4 quick tips to supercharge your brain power beginning today? Number 1, find 30 minutes every day to read in your area of professional interest in an area of personal development. Over a year's time, you'll have read over 40 books and put yourself in the top 3% of your field. 2, begin a personal journal to capture and organize your thoughts. I'm not talking about a diary to catalog your summer vacation here. I'm talking about developing a habit of transferring thoughts into reality and intention into power. Number 3, start and end your day with at least 10 minutes of personal quiet time to pray, meditate, and think. You'll get and stay focused, minimize anxiety, and bring purpose to each day. And number 4, teach something to someone every day. You'll internalize your knowledge and insight by multiples, not to mention creating synergy and teamwork around you. Read, journal, pray, and teach. You'll be on your way to a more powerful mind. This is Vito Selling Head Coach Steve Daly. We coach, you win.
Club Vito with Tony Parinello is on. Now back to Talk to Vito.
And back to listening to my very special guest, Dr. Tony Alessandra. As you could well pick up now since the last 30 minutes or so, learning from Dr. Tony. Streetwise, college smart. His perspective on business is rather interesting. He was raised in the housing projects of New York City. Well, that wasn't too far from Hoboken, was it?
No, it wasn't.
I think we were raised in the same kind of hood. Tony, how old are you now?
I literally just turned 65 last month, so I'm on Medicare.
I did too. When was your birthday? Well, now that was June or May. In June you turned 65?
Yeah, June 2nd.
Oh, I'm just about 2 weeks older than you.
Aha.
Gotta love it.
I knew we had something in common.
You know, now I'm not paying $806 a month for my medical insurance.
That's right.
I gotta love that. So, born and raised in New York City, you have a PhD. You're one of the world's best keynote speakers, author of 27 different books, and we're learning from Dr. Tony Alessandra how to understand someone's style. Now, I guess the big question here is understanding it is one thing, but using it to build rapport is yet another, because you can understand it and not do anything with it.
Exactly.
So you've been giving us lots of tips on how these people react and how we could leave a voicemail message for so far for the thinker and the socializer. Let's stay with the socializer for a minute, then we'll go back to the thinker, and then we can talk about the voicemail for a directory later. But with a socializer, once I know they're a socializer, and I have to respect their style. What if I'm not a socializer? What if I'm a director? Is this going to bug me?
No. Why would it bug you?
I don't know. I mean, they're thinking about they're socializing. I want to get to the point.
Oh. Okay. So, remember, both the socializers and directors are fast-paced. So there won't be stress in terms of the frustration of having to slow down. The difference is, yes, the directors want to get to the point, and the socializers oftentimes beat around the bush. So yes, that is a tension area. The similar tension area is with the thinkers and relators. Mm-hmm. They're both slower paced, but again, one wants to get to the point, one wants to develop the relationship.
So if you're a different style, which chances are, you got a pretty good chance that you are a different style than the person you want to build rapport with. What's the name of the game there?
Okay, well, let's start with directors. I'll give you a little bit of each style, if that's okay.
Okay.
So directors, here are suggestions. If you are a director, if you believe you're a director, our listeners, I would suggest to be more adaptable to people who are not directors, practice active listening a little bit more. And I say active listening, which means you listen, you ask questions, you seek feedback, you nod your head. Try to project a little bit more relaxed image instead of projecting the image that you want to pounce on something or you're leaning forward. Try to lean back just a little and show a little bit more relaxation. Try to develop a little bit more patience, humility, sensitivity, empathy. If you make a decision, instead of saying, this is it, you might want to, particularly with direct reports or staff, verbalize the reasons, or even with family members, the reasons you came up with that decision.
Yeah.
And here's one, Tony. If you're a director, verbalize your compliments. Here's the irony. They don't compliment a lot, but they think it. the compliments are in their head. All they need to do is verbalize them. So that's what a director needs to do to come across more adaptable to the other styles.
So this is going to be a little bit of effort for the.
It is.
I would think it'd be a little bit of effort for each one of these styles to communicate with a different style. So, but in the director's case, we have to have this awareness and empathy almost to jump into this more active listening, having more patience, articulating congratulations rather than just thinking. This is going to take some effort.
Absolutely. And what I describe is that oftentimes, if there's going to be some natural interpersonal tension, let's say between you and I, to reduce the tension doesn't disappear. It's got to go somewhere. So when I do things differently than are natural to my style, like the director being a better listener and projecting a more relaxed image,
right.
What I'm doing is I'm taking on more personal tension, hoping that it will reduce the interpersonal tension.
Oh,
now,
that's a good point. That's an excellent
and remember, it's
point.
only temporary.
Right.
It's only temporary.
That is an excellent point. You know what? It's interesting, Dr. Tony. I'm seeing this working in every aspect of my day-to-day activity, no matter where I am or who I'm trying to relate to. Doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
It totally doesn't matter. So, okay, so I'm going to take on temporarily that little bit of stress, but knowing that at the end of the interaction, I go back being whoever I am.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That sounds good.
And that's not being phoney or a chameleon or whatever. It's being considerate.
Yeah, and respectful.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. That's okay. So that's for the director. Now, who do we go to next?
Let's do the thinkers.
Okay.
If you're a thinker and you want to show more adaptability, I would. What would I do? I'd openly show more appreciation to other people. I try, as much as I can, I try some shortcuts and time savers. I would try to adjust more readily to change and disorganization, because that really kills them as disorganization. I'd work on timely decision-making. I try to compromise a little bit more with others and use policies as guidelines, not as laws. If I were a relator, I would learn to say no occasionally. They have a hard time saying no because they feel that they're rejecting the other person or they're going to hurt the other person's feelings. But they need to understand that if you're a relator, you're saying no to what they're asking you, not rejecting them personally.
Right. That's big. That's a big
Take more risks. Take more risks if you're a relator. Stretch beyond your comfort zone. Try to delegate a little bit more to others. I'll tell you one thing about relators. Relators are martyrs. They take on the tasks, the woes, the responsibilities of other people just to keep the peace, to be friendly, but delegate more to others. Verbalize your feelings, because oftentimes they hold in their feelings. Back years ago, they used to call that gunny sacking. They collect the feelings until they can't hold it anymore, and then they explode.
They explode, yeah. I've known a few of those before, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now with socializers, if they want to be more adaptable, try to control your time and emotions a little bit more. Spend more time checking, verifying, specifying, organizing, follow through on your agreement.
Opening up your mail. Opening up your mail. Write
things down. Don't try to trust everything to memory. Try to concentrate on the task at hand. Socializers are like the kids on Christmas morning under the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
They open up one present. They are absolutely stunned and mesmerized by it until they see the next present. They drop the first one and move to the next one. A socializer has to learn to concentrate and do their best to complete a task at hand and then move on to the next step. Complete more of what you start. And if you start too big of a task, try to break it down into subparts so that you can complete a subpart before you move on to something else.
You know, Tony, I'm just having a little bit of deja vu. There was you had told me once, and I think I asked you specifically about the traits of a leader, and you said their ability to complete something, like to complete the task at hand, or just complete everything. You know, if you look around yourself and you go, God, that's not done, that's not done, that's not done. Just the idea of completing stuff is a healthy thing to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now, voicemail message. We talked about it for the thinker and for the socializer. Well, what a voicemail message? What are like the data points for a voicemail message for a relator?
Well, with a relator, what I'd like to do is lean back in my chair and relax, okay? I want to smile, maybe even have a mirror, smile as I speak warmly and at a little bit more slower measured rate. I want to sound personable, but still professional. If possible, if relevant, I want to tell them who referred me, you know, so that we have a that sort of connection. And I want to thank them in advance for returning the call.
Oh, that's a biggie. Oh, I like that because, yeah, that almost makes them feel obligated to return the call.
Absolutely.
That's great. I love it. Now, how about the director voicemail?
Directors, what would I do with a director? I want to give my phone number right at the beginning and at the end. Mr. Parinello, this is Tony Alessandra. I'm at 858, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to do that at the end, too. I'm going to articulate clearly and at a quicker rate of speech. I'm telling exactly why I'm calling. I'm calling to talk to you about online assessments and how it can absolutely profit your business. I'm going to tell them exactly what I want them to do. And Mr. Parinello, I'm also, as we're speaking, sending you an email with a link. If you would just simply click on that link, you will be able to take a complimentary DISC assessment, blah, 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 okay? And I'm going to let them know exactly what to expect in the next step or phase of our call or relationship.
So setting expectations, being very clear, very concise, very brief, and to the point.
Exactly.
Okay, so unbelievable. We're up against another break. Can you stay with us for another segment, Tony?
Absolutely.
Perfect. When we come back, can we talk about how to create apostles from, then assuming we're going to build rapport with these different styles, their prospects or customers, how we can create actual apostles that'll preach the gospel about our products, services, and solutions?
Absolutely.
Okay, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Club Vito with Tony Parinello. We'll be right back.
I'm David Booth of Eloquy, and here's a tip called Default Mode from our newest book, The Speaker Survival Guide. Changing speech habits is a wrestling match. When an environment is stressful or a lot is at stake, we tend to fall back on familiar behavior. Specifically, speakers will say too much, educate rather than persuade, use PowerPoint as a crutch, or read from a completely prepared text. To energize your presentation, focus on what you're passionate about. Say it in your own style and words. Challenge yourself to describe your product or service in novel ways, without general terms or shop-worn phrases like full-service firm or we care about our clients. Your audience will appreciate your creative thinking and individuality, and you'll be differentiated from the competition. Incorporate one new tool at a time until being unpredictable becomes your new default.
This is Club Vito with Tony Parinello behind the mic. Today, you talk to Vito.
And you learn from my very special guest, Dr. Tony Alessandra. No surprise that this year in 2012, Dr. Tony was voted the number one world's top communication guru. I mean, if you haven't yet figured this out, by understanding what Dr. Tony has taught us so far, you will take a quantum leap forward in building almost instant rapport with your prospects, customers, suppliers, personal relationships. I don't think it matters. Across the board, we can use this stuff. But, Dr. Tony, what I'd like to understand now is how we can take someone who's been our customer for a while, and let's assume for a moment that they're happy. We've been doing the good work, and we've been, meeting the expectations we set. But now, who of the thinker, the socializer, the director, or the relator, who's the best person for me to get a referral from or develop into an apostle?
Well, I would say the easiest style to become an apostle would be the relator. The easiest one to get a referral from would be the socializer. Socializers know a lot of people. But here's how I would do it. First, let me define apostle, and I know your listeners, I'm sure, of any groups I talk to, your listeners are more in sync with what an apostle would be. But an apostle is a raving fan, a business advocate, somebody who is out there in the marketplace preaching the gospel for you, your products, your company. You don't ask them for referrals; they send referrals to you.
I love
it.
Yeah.
So that's an apostle.
Yeah.
And I tell people you don't need a lot of apostles, within your client base to have a significant and a sustainable impact in the marketplace.
Right.
I always tell people there's a magic number. If you can hit that magic number of apostles, you will have a significant, ongoing, sustainable impact, visibility, referrals in the marketplace. What would you think that magic number is, Tony?
3.
All right, so I get all kinds of different numbers, okay? 3, 4, 5. But here's the magic number. You ready?
Can I get another guess?
Yeah.
1.
No, 12.
12.
There's some magic about this 12 apostles.
Sure.
We all know of one person who had 12 apostles.
Yep.
To this day
Yep.
has significant sustainable impact.
Yep.
Of course, somebody corrected me in one of my speeches, said, well, he only had 11. One went to the competition. But, we're not going to split hairs. The goal of all of us, Tony, is to do whatever they need to do to get to the 12 apostles. Now, here's how we do it. We look in our client base. There's 2 different ways. One's a simple way. One's a little bit more difficult. We look in our client base, and we say, okay, let me identify all my apostles. Now, remember, an apostle, I frequently say apostles almost have transcended the business relationship and at times even become personal relationships. We may even do personal things with them. But I'm not talking about a good customer. I'm not talking about a steady repeat customer. I'm talking about an apostle, somebody who is out there talking you up, almost like an unpaid salesperson on your staff. There is not a lot. You mentioned 3. You mentioned 1, which I think is important because I would say many good salespeople probably have 3 or 4. Maybe as many as 6. But here's the thing. We don't nurture our clients to become apostles. We just think they either become it or not. There is a strategy that I have. Here's what I suggest. It's 3 steps. And I will guarantee that by next year, if our listeners do next year, they'll double the number of apostles they have. If they have 3 today, they'll have 6 next year. If they have 4 today, they'll have 8 next year.
This is
right,
good.
So, number 1 is identify within your client base who are your apostles. And if you can't do that by looking at their names, you can actually send out a letter or an email and simply ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that you will recommend me to your friends, family, colleagues, businesses, whatever it is. And if anybody rates you a 9 or a 10, I would put them into the apostle category. All right. So step number 1, I want to list on a piece of paper my apostles. Let's say I just list 3 names. Okay. Step number 2. This is the crucial step. As I'm looking at these 3, 4, 5, 6 names of apostles, I want to write down what is it that I do with them that either made them an apostle or that's keeping them an apostle. What do I do with them differently than I do with the rest of my clients? What do I do with them better or more? And I would wager that 19 out of 20 items that you might write down all revolve around the relationship and how you treat them.
Right.
Not the product, not the price,
Right.
not the quality,
Right.
because you pretty much do that with everybody.
Yep.
But it's the relationship that you build. So
Yep.
write down
Yep.
as
How
specifically
responsive?
as possible.
Yep. How responsive? How much time you spend? How many times you call them? Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Makes
Exactly.
sense. Makes
Try to
sense.
write it down
Yep.
in something that is measurable or something that if somebody else looked at it, they could duplicate it. They don't have to ask you, well, what does it mean to give better service? You have to be very, very specific. All right, so that's step number 2.
Yep. That's a good
Step
one.
number 3, the final step. However many names I have in step 1, which is my number of apostles, 3, 4, whatever, I'm going to write down twice as many names of good customers who are not yet apostles, but if nurtured over the next 12 months, can become. So if I only have 3 apostles, I'm going to write down 6 targeted customers that over the next 12 months, I am going to, on purpose, strategically, do the behaviors that I wrote down in number 2.
In step 2, sure.
With the people in step 3.
Yep.
And here's what I have found over the years, Tony, that you will convert at least 50% of the people in step 3, you will convert them to apostles. So if you have 3 apostles, I'm going to write down 6 names, and I will convert at least 3 of those 6 names to become an apostle within the next 12 months. So basically, I'm doubling. So if this year, today, I only have 3 apostles, I know that with this strategy, in 2 years, I'll have 12.
Yeah, you know what's interesting here, Tony, is from the get-go, from the top of the hour that we started the show, you have been giving us practical advice and steps to take, as in these 3 steps. This is so practical and so easy to understand. You'd have to hit yourself over the head with a baseball bat if you don't do it. Dr. Tony, Alessandra, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. What's the best way for someone to reach out to you to find out more about you?
All right, so they can either email me directly. The email is TA, which stands for Tony Alessandra, so TA@alessandra.com. That's ALESSANDRA.com.
Dr. Tony Alessandra, thank you so much for being who you are and doing what you do. And there's not a shadow of a doubt in our mind of all these awards and accolades that you have gotten for what you've done for the world of communication. Thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Tony.
You bet. You take care.
You've been listening to Club Vito with Tony Parinello. Stay in touch with us 24 hours a day at vitoselling.com or call us with comments and suggestions at 800-777-VITO. This program and its entire contents are the property of Anthony Parinello. Unauthorized duplication or rebroadcast without express written permission of Anthony Parinello is prohibited and unlawful under U.S. copyright law.